Hey guys, welcome back for another video. I'm just gonna go get something to drink really quick, and then we're gonna talk about 5 things that I hate about my Celica GTS. Get some bubbly. Guys, I don't know if we're gonna get there, but we gotta try to chase this car down, and you'll see why if I can catch him. Give me a minute. I promise we'll get back to the video.
Co-sign me, I don't even like me, no, I'm staring in the mirror.
Oh, dude, he actually stopped. This is prime. I'm gonna see if he'll talk to me. Alright, so I really don't want to bug him because it looks like he's talking to his wife and his son, but I'm going to show you this car. This is one of my dream cars, and my uncle actually had this exact same car. I actually don't know what this dude is doing. He's just been going around to like all the power outlets. It's kind of sketchy, actually. Oh, I guess he's just plugging his phone in. Alright guys, we're going to head out. I wish I could get you more on this Mach 1, but I'm just kind of the creepy dude right now that's trying to get pictures of this car, and the guy looks like he's pissed off. Maybe they're having some car trouble, so I'm not going to stick around. So let's get out of here. What the deal is today with cool cars, look at that. It's an old slammed and chopped International. Alright guys, welcome back now for another video with the Celica GTS. Before we jump into this video, I just wanted to say thank you for hanging with us during this really hectic time. Like I said, it's all going to make sense very shortly. We're actually kind of at the tail end of our preparation period, and I'm a little stressed out. I've been swamped with work and things I need to get done, but today I wanted to bring you another video to talk about 5 things that I hate about my Celica GTS. And interesting as this is going to be, a lot of these things aren't necessarily the fault of the Celica GTS, or rather Toyota or Yamaha when they were developing this car. Some of the things are actually just things that the previous owner did to this car, because this thing was actually put together terribly. Now it looks pretty good, it's a pretty good car, but you'll see what I mean. They just kind of rushed putting this car together, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So the number one thing that I dislike about my Celica GTS, starting off our list here, is going to be its front wheel drive. And honestly, you guys, it's not even that big of a deal because this car virtually has no torque steer, and it drives super, super nice. And when I was looking at getting this thing, I looked up a lot of videos and did a lot of research on them, and almost everybody said in their review of this car that they feels like it wants to be rear-wheel drive again. And in my head, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I've owned rear-wheel drive cars and now front-wheel drive cars, and I was like, that just doesn't make sense at all. But after I got it and drove around with this car and got used to it, it really does. And I don't really know how to explain it. I think the best way to say it is that it handles really nice, and it also doesn't have like any torque steer. It just feels like it's very balanced, but I think I'd have a lot more fun if it was rear-wheel drive. So that is going to be the first thing that I hate about my Celica GTS. Alright, so number 2 on my list, we're going to have to get a little more up close and personal so you guys can firsthand see what I'm talking about, but it's going to be the way that this car was put together. And that's going to be this crappy paint job, which you can't really tell, which I guess I'm kind of grateful for, but the paint job is horrible, and also whoever put this body kit on did a really bad job. This is actually a C1 lip just on the stock front bumper, and they used a bunch of screws and stuff like that along the sides. We'll talk about the side skirts, and then we'll talk about the back. But first, I'm gonna flip this around and show you what I mean on the front bumper here. All right, so to start out, you can see all these gaps. They did not get this bumper fitted very well. This should actually kind of tuck over the bumper so this weather stripping doesn't look quite as excessive. Then we look down at the C1 lip. You can see screw, right? They put a screw in there. We got some gaps. Over here, it's a little more noticeable. You can see this big gap we got right here. They put another screw right on the side, which kind of breaks my heart. And then the front bumper, they didn't have a tab here, and you can see, yeah, the car used to be red. So this is all stuff we can fix fairly easily, but it'll be the number one thing that I dislike about the car. This is actually a weather stripping piece. I have a new clip for it, so this black right here actually gets clipped inside the door there. I can fix that, but you can see they didn't prep for the paint very well because everything's peeling off. Just kind of willy-nilly, fasteners everywhere, not on there the best on the side skirts. There's another screw that should not be there. Back to the TRD wing, you can see I replaced this fastener right here. They literally just put this in here. It's screwed into the end cap, but they didn't line up the hole on the actual wing itself. So this is just a TRD replica wing. Didn't do a very great job. There's no clear on this car, so anytime you have dirt on your hands or anything like that, it shows all of that stuff. Shows all of that on the car. Really kind of sad. If you look right in here really close, you can see where it used to be red and they didn't mask off anything very well. If I were to pop the trunk, all this is peeling in here. So yeah, just not a super awesome paint job or construction of the body kit. But as you can see, if we're about 10 feet away like this, don't look too bad. Side note, we're actually not that far from my house. It's right there. And Sammy wanted to come with, so she wandered down. Sammy! All right, so that was number 2. Number 3, we're gonna have to run around to the back of the car here, is going to be the exhaust. I'm gonna put a clip in right here. So you can't really tell in the clip. I actually like the way the exhaust sounds. It's not real droney. Obviously you have a small 4-cylinder. It's gonna drone a little bit when you have an open exhaust, but it's not bad. The car actually sounds pretty good, especially when you hit lift. But there is something that's busted inside the muffler there. When you get to a certain RPM and it's vibrating just right, it sounds like there's a bunch of bolts rattling around in there. So I don't know if the baffle rusted out or what it was, but it drives me absolutely crazy. So that is gonna be the 3rd thing that I hate about my Celica GTS. Number 4 on the list really isn't that bad, but it's going to be how close the gears are to each other on this shifter. In the video where we talked about 5 things that I love about my Celica GTS, I said I love the notchy feel of the 6-speed and the fact that I have a 6-speed manual or a manual transmission in general inside this car. They designed the 6-speed for the 2ZZ motor to really optimize the lift in this engine. So they did do a really good job with this transmission, but the gears are super close together. So if you're doing any kind of aggressive fast shifting, if you're not used to the car, if you're not used to the transmission, it can be super easy to miss a shift. And then these things had oil pump gear problems. So let's say you're in lift at 7,000 RPMs, you mean to shift into 5th and you shift into 3rd, you could just say bye-bye to your whole engine if you over rev it like that. Thankfully, hasn't happened to me. I'm also being fairly nice to the car right now because we have to replace that knock sensor when we do our intake stuff, but that is going to be the 4th thing that I hate about my Celica GTS. All right, 5th and final thing. So this is kind of going to wrap 2 things into one, and that is going to be 1, when the lift kicks in this car. The lift, which is basically like VTEC, you get about 40-ish more horsepower. It engages that second cam load much like VTEC does, and then more power, right? So anyway, one thing I hate about that system is on this particular car, it kicks in at 6,200 RPMs and we redline at about 8 grand. So you really don't have a whole lot of room to play with it. And then this is a twofer because that also ties into the fact that the ECU in this car is completely locked. You cannot get a piggyback like a Cobb access port or anything like that. About the best way to do this, if you want to change anything, like when that lift kicks in, like fuel maps, anything at all, if you want to mess with the ECU in this car, the best way that I've researched and found to do it is going to be to get the AEM ECU, which is about $1,200, and then you'll also have to get a data log it so that you can take that information, put it onto your computer, and start tampering with things. So not super tuner friendly. Once you get that AEM, then you can do stuff like forced induction, but right off the bat, not really the best. So that is going to be the 5th and final thing that I hate about my Celica GTS. All right, fam, so there you have it. Those are the 5 things that I absolutely hate about my Celica GTS. And don't get it twisted, because I do love this car. I think it looks great. It's fun to drive. I absolutely love the car, and I'm excited to take you guys on the journey of this car with me. Once again, thank you so much for being patient while we're wrapping up all this stuff. I promise we're going to talk about it really soon. I haven't told anybody really what's going on, but huge changes are coming for the channel. And then we will get back to kind of more of our regular schedule with a little bit more in-depth content and stuff like that. So thank you for your patience. If you enjoyed the content, drop a comment down below, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you're notified every time we upload a video. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.